Welcome to an international break edition of Walking the London Road. I'm Sam, and of course, joining me are Will and Connor. Gentlemen, the international break is upon us. No Oxford United men's team to talk about, but we've got to wrap up the final bits and pieces of the transfer window. Before we get into that, gents, how are we enjoying the international break? Connor, did you tune in for the Andorra game?
I tuned in for the first half and switched to women's rugby. It's gash.
Will, did you suffer
I
through
think
it?
No, I was at work, thank goodness. I was spared the pain of having to watch it.
Yeah, I think international football, especially in like pointless qualifiers and obviously friendlies, are some of the most boring games of football. A shout out to Sparky, who I think played quarter of an hour as Wales won 1-0, so at least he's getting some game time in his legs. The bulk of this episode is going to be talking about, like I said, wrapping up the final bits and pieces of Oxford United's transfer business for the summer of 2025. And we're also going to do a very quick preview of the Leicester game, with that coming up, of course, at 12:30 on Saturday. First major bit of business that happened was, of course, the signing of Bulgarian international Filip Krastev on loan from Lomel SK in the Belgium second tier. The 23-year-old joins Oxford United on a season-long loan. Unlike some of Oxford's other loan signings, he seems to not have, or seems to have, I should say, an additional year on his contract, so we can't sign him on a free transfer. But what we have seen with those that go on loan from Lomon, like Koki Sato, for example, is they then earn themselves a move to that club on a permanent basis if their performances are good. I've done a little bit of looking into him. Will, I'm guessing kind of the general fan base's knowledge of Filip Krastev wasn't massive. Were you kind of aware of the performances he put in last season in the Eredivisie?
No, I wasn't aware before we signed him, but having looked into him, he seems like a really decent addition. I mean, like, he seems quick, he's a winger, he scores goals. He's been on loan most of his career, but that's pretty standard for players of his age. He was even sort of suspected of going to Manchester City at one point, but that didn't come through. So I think he looks like a really exciting addition, a bit of pace on the wing, someone who can score goals, someone who can really get us sort of further up the pitch and really aid our attacking abilities.
Definitely. Obviously, it's another delve into the Dutch market for Ed Waldron and Gary Rowett. It's clear that was a very lucrative market for Oxford United to explore this season, and I think we've got some pretty decent value out of it. Obviously, the signing for 26 million of Brian de Geersmaker and Krastev, obviously previously Hiddo Vest, Ole Romane. Do you think we are likely to go back in January, or do you think, Connor, this is more likely a market that the lads will explore, once a season has fully completed? And obviously it will, though, depend on which division we're in.
I suspect we'll go back in, not just at Oxford, but Gary Rowett has a history of going into around the Dutch and Flemish market. If you look at his previous clubs, especially during his time at Millwall. So I don't think that it's just a one-off. As you say, over the past couple of years, actually, we've had a history of going into the Dutch market and looking at players who've had experience in Holland, whether we have scouting networks there for players who are at previous clubs. So I do expect us to go back in. And quickly, just on Krastev, I think you remember, Sam, a couple of weeks ago, if not 3 weeks ago, when we said what type of player we wanted. I think Krastev is exactly that. Player on the left-hand side who looks like he has bundles of creativity, lots of energy, and can also stick the ball away as well. So, although put my hands up, seemed like Will had absolutely not a Scooby who he was until we signed him. It has the potential. I think it has very high risk, high reward. Signing can either be excellent or could be hopefully not another Gino Van Kessel, but I have high hopes that it will be absolutely excellent. Real ones will know that he was an FM 1920 wonder kid.
Yeah. At Pexvoll, he was superb last season. 31 games played, I think 26 of those being at starts in the Eredivisie. 6 goals, 4 assists. Last season with Pexvoll was the first time since his time with Levski Sofia that he played more than 20 league games. But a lot of experience. Even made a loan trip to LAFC in 2023. was recalled due to lack of game time, but scored, I think it was like 30 seconds into his LAFC debut. So definitely knows where the back of the net is. Like you say, a lad with a lot of creativity. A lot of the highlights and stuff, as you know, there's only so much you can take from highlight packages, but it's all we've got at the minute. He looks a very direct runner. Really like the way he moves the ball. My only concern with Krastev is he's 5'8", and we've seen that Sweet Dembele and Tyler Goodrum have struggled with the physicality of the Championship with, at similar heights. I think I mentioned it to both of you after he was signed. But I think, Connor, you made an interesting point in rebuttal to my concern, didn't you?
Yeah. Could you just remind me of what that was?
I can't remember for the life of me, but I think you mentioned that obviously he's been playing in at a high league, and potentially a lot of the problems that Goodrum has been having in particular is because this is the highest division he's ever played at.
Oh yes, yeah, I get you now. So yeah, I think that a lot of what I said last week about Goodrum and Dembele is just about that fact that although, as we say, like Dembele has had some experience in the Championship when he was at Birmingham, he wasn't particularly taking a liking to it, and I think it was specifically because of that physicality issue. We saw evidence of that at Birmingham and the game against Coventry, and the same with Tyler Goodrum. But the thing with Tyler Goodrum is that I think that he's a bit of an odd one because he's shown that he can cope with it. He just needs to get back into that rhythm and be able to put himself in a bit more like he did when he was under Buckingham. So as you say, it is a valid concern of the fact of his height, but he looked like that he was able to deal with it in Holland. And I know that the Eredivisie and the Championship in terms of physicality are two different leagues and two separate entities. So we're just going to have to wait and see. It sounds kind of mental to say, but if you want to play on that left-hand side, you kind of want what Krastev has by the highlights, but also with a Matty Phillips build.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I am.
It's a policy of 1 in, 1 out in terms of wide men for Oxford United. A couple of loan departures to talk about before we get on to the meat and potatoes of this episode. Owen Dale has left on loan to go to Plymouth Argyle. It's believed he's out of contract at the end of the campaign, so that might be a final goodbye to Owen. I think, look, he wasn't involved at all in pre-season, and I've said to a few Plymouth fans that Owen Dale's great strength is that he's a consistent runner. He will not stop going after that ball. I often think of the free kick he won in the playoff final by just seeing undecisive fullback and goalkeeper making the asking the question and winning a set piece. But his real issue is lack of end product. Obviously, his first game involved with Plymouth, they won 4-2. Would you say, Will, that Owen is much more suited to League One compared to the short amount of time he had in the Championship last campaign?
Yeah, massively. It's no surprise that he's going. I mean, I don't know what happened. Something must have happened behind the scenes that made him fall out of favour with the club. But he played pretty decently in League One, but he just didn't quite cut it in the Championship. Like you said, very little end product. I mean, it's a shame because he's one of those players. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He really goes for it. He, diving into tackles, running at the opposition. But I just don't think he has quite found a way to hack it in the Championship. So I think League One is a pretty good move for him. I'll be honest. And it was pretty obvious he wasn't going to get any game time this season anyway.
Yeah, there were many of his Instagram stories of him sat up in the gods at the Castad. Connor, I will always love Owen Dale for, like Will said, his contribution at the back end of the 23-24 campaign, how he wore his heart on his sleeve. He was always one of the first that would, make sure that the fans are with the team. Are you thinking that? Do you think Owen Dale kind of could get up to another Championship move, or do you think he's probably going to be a League One player?
Every player, unfortunately, has their ceiling, such as like every other person that walk in life, they have their ceiling in their occupation. And unfortunately for Owen, as much as I love the bloke for his character and his personality, I think that League One is in fact that ceiling. He's shown that he can operate at a very, very high level and be successful at a League One level. So I think that's where he might find that might be where he is. And I think it's good that he's gone to a club like Plymouth, especially under Tom Cleverley. Even though they haven't had the best start of the season, they want to play attacking football, and he came on and he had a decent cameo appearance for 15 minutes or so at the weekend. Especially with some of the signs they brought up front, I really think that the style that they're going to play, and especially with the presence of strikers and attacking options that they have, it is a very good club for him to go and fit in at. And the Plymouth fans, they're a very characteristic fan base. They're not known for being quiet or subtle, let's put it that way. So the character that he shows on the pitch, as you say, of being to interact and be charismatic and get the fans on side, that's something that, as you probably said to Plymouth fans, that they'll really appreciate. So
definitely. Yeah. Another Oxford United wide man that is out on loan at a League One club is Peter Kioso, and he has made a return on loan to Peterborough United. Obviously was captain there in his loan spell before being recalled by Rotherham in the 23-24 campaign. Signed for Oxford United for, I believe, fee around £500,000. As we said when Brodie Spencer was signed, it was becoming more clear that Gary Rowett did not favour Peter Kioso at right back over the two other options he had. And I am a little surprised that he's not at a side that are higher in League One than Peterborough, but I guess he's going back to a fan base that kind of have a lot of love for him. Will, are you thinking that this will be a good opportunity for Kioso to kind of rebuild his career before coming back to the Castad, or do you think this is kind of the end of his Oxford United tenure?
Yeah, I think, again, no surprise there. I mean, we didn't really expect him to have a big role to play for us in the Championship this season. He wasn't quite up to scratch. Gary Rowett didn't favour him. I think it's a good move for him to sort of try and rebuild his career. I mean, he did a decent job at Plymouth. He did a decent job, at Peterborough beforehand. It's a familiar environment for him. They're not doing too well, but maybe that sort of gives him like the room and the manoeuvre to sort of show his abilities more, because there wouldn't be much competition, I would think. Basically to answer your question, I think it is a good move for him, maybe with a move back to Oxford United in mind, but I'm sort of not really optimistic of that happening, I'll be honest.
Connor, as the EFL expert, you've had a look at Peterborough's start to the campaign, which has not been good. Obviously, there were a couple of jokes thrown around by Oxford United fans that one Brannigan penalty has set their club back 10 years. How are you seeing Ferguson go back to kind of an old reliable head to try and rebuild this Peterborough side that obviously got decimated when they weren't able to gain promotion?
I mean, there's not a lot of fiction in that line. Let's be honest. Really, for being absolutely honest ourselves. Even I know this isn't the question that you asked, but even Ferguson himself has said that night, and then going out of the playoffs is what has led the club to where they are at the moment. However, going to your central question, I think that because Kioso, before he was, if you remember, he was at Peterborough in the 23-24 season, and then he got recalled back to Rotherham, and I don't think that Kioso really wanted to go back to Rotherham because I think that he also had the captain's armband as well, which showed how much of a presence that he was in that dressing room, and obviously built a very, very good relationship with Ferguson. So I wouldn't be surprised if himself and McAntony, the posh owner, turned around and said, we are in that absolute mire, we are going to need someone that knows what it's like to be successful at this club and out of the mess that they are at the moment. And I do think that Kioso had that bit of personality you could see when in and around on the pitch, in some of the behind the scenes stuff as well. And if you listen to him interview, he comes across as very outgoing and that he knows how to be a social gel. So that, and also if you look, not sure if you've seen, McAntony said that he was ringing him about 20 times a day for about 20 days trying to get him to come in. So it shows how much he's wanted. And I think that, as Will said, maybe Rowett not choosing him that much, he's going somewhere where he knows that he's wanted, so that can only boost his confidence and bring in the experience that Peterborough will need when I think that they will be in for a very, very hard season.
Absolutely. Best of luck to Odo and Peter Kioso for the rest of the season, lads. Obviously, the most recent bit of transfer business that was announced was Marcelino Ferdinand, who has been recovering from a knock he picked up on the Indonesia tour. He has gone out on loan to Slovak side AS Teresin. I probably butchered that. It's Trencin. obviously, he's a player that needs football. Got a fair amount of game time for the youth side last season. Best of luck, Marcelino. I know a lot of Oxford United fans are very sceptical about him signing and think he's never going to make appearance for our serious appearance for our football club. All I'm going to say is best of luck, lads. Any thoughts on Marcelino's loan to the Slovak side?
No, not really.
Sorry, Connor. I mean, he's good for the social media, but
Yeah.
not really good for us on the pitch, I'll be honest.
I think a lot of the Indonesian social media stuff is now leading towards Ole Romane. Apparently, there's not a lot of billboards in Indonesia and all that kind of thing. Hopefully we'll get our Ole back soon. It looks like he's recovering well in the Netherlands and might be heading back to Blighty pretty soon. But the real reason we're here is to talk about the very shocking departure that we saw on deadline day. That being, Elliott Moore had his contract terminated by mutual agreement by Oxford United. The club captain is no longer at our football club. I think I messaged you too as soon as it was unveiled, and it's a shock. I didn't expect it, to any degree that Elliott wouldn't be involved in the rest of the campaign. We're going to go through kind of his time at the football club. But since we've had, coming up on a week since kind of the dust has settled, any other thoughts on Elliott's departure? Connor, we'll start with you.
Yeah, as you say, it came across as a bit of a shock. I think it came across as a shock to 99% of the fan base. I think that we all had, for the truth of ourselves, in the back of our mind. He was going into the last year of his contract, I believe, and I think that we all really knew that this might be his last season at the club, but we didn't expect it to end as abruptly. And then I think the more surprising part was that it ended on mutual agreement, which means that both parties agreed. You would have thought, especially in the day and age that we're in now, that he would have sat on his contract till the end of the year to recoup, another year's salary, which I think that says a lot about the man, that A, he probably wants to get out and play football, and B, that he didn't want to sit and just, he would have been on a fairly decent whack, still be it on a League One contract. Let's be real about that. He still would have been on a fairly decent salary compared to the rest of us. So kudos to him for not, sitting on it and taking the money that he could do. So, but yeah, as I said, we expected it to come, but maybe in another 12 months' time and not now.
Absolutely. Will, he's 28 years old, and like Connor said, fair play to him for wanting to go out and still play football. I think if he was, in his early to mid 30s, I think he would sit on that contract and just kind of see things out. But he's a player that has always talked about, when he's out injured, he hates that because he just wants to be on the pitch. Tell me your thoughts on what this might mean for kind of the dynamics of the squad. Because obviously, Brannigan is the new club captain, Sam Long now vice captain.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'd just like to echo everything Connor said. I mean, I think we all knew he was coming towards the end of his time at Oxford United, but I still expect him to hang around for the season. He's not at the levels that he used to be, but he's still a very solid defender who can be relied upon. I think when it comes to team dynamics, I think Cameron Brannigan has already got quite a lot of experience with the captain's armband. We know that he's a fan favourite. He's again another one of those players who wears his heart on his sleeve. So I think he's going to be quite good in that role. Sam Long's got a lot of experience at the club, and I think he'll do quite well as well.
Absolutely. So Elliott, of course, joined from Leicester in August of 2019 for an undisclosed fee. At a time where, while Elliott's been here, we've had so many incredible centre-halves. Obviously, more recently, Mikhail Hellick and Kieran Brown previously, Atkinson and Dickey and McNally lining up alongside El. Didn't wear the armband in the 2020 COVID final, but has featured in 2 playoff finals for Oxford United, of course, captaining us in 2024 and lifting the trophy. It's obviously when he came in, we were a League One side, and this is a player that had a bit of experience out in Belgium from when he came through at Leicester. But as soon as he came in, in those early days, I thought, wow, we've got another incredible centre half on our hands here.
Yeah. Do you know what? Some people don't, people at the club don't like really take warm to the bloke. But I tell you what, Carl Robinson made some signings, didn't he? Elliott Moore was one of
Yeah.
them from Leicester. Um, do you know what, Sam? For that season, he came in and he was good, but I don't. For me, anyway, he didn't really take the eye because he had Rob Atkinson playing next to him, and he was obviously
Yeah.
the star man, the star centre half that day. Let's get the negative out of the way. The first like real proper memory I think that I have of Elliott Moore was in that 2020 COVID final.
Mm.
I'm not sure if you remember when Wickham played the long ball. I think it was Joe Jacobson. Elliott Moore, I think he either ducked or he got out the way and it let the Wickham man through, and then Simon Eastwood brought down the Wickham man. So that's the first actual real memory, like core in my
That's
mind
a
that I
nice
have of
memory
it.
to have.
I know of playing for Oxford, but it all went uphill from there because as we said, Axon went on, and then we had Dickey, and then also McNally. But he was always a mainstay. You could always see that maybe he wasn't quite at the level or had the career trajectory that those three players had. He was always Mr. Consistent and reliable, and he always went
Yeah.
up. His performances always went up gradually. So he was always ever Mr. Consistent. It was just that for some reason this season and at the second half of last year, it just football moves on and football waits for no man or woman, unfortunately.
Will, obviously, he's experienced the up and downs at our football club. Obviously, was stripped of the captaincy for Carl Robinson's final game in charge, and there was a lot of speculation around him and Cameron Brannigan after that 22-23 campaign. He stuck around. He captained us to promotion, and obviously had a big role to play, scoring the goal in the first leg to give us the advantage. Based on kind of, I always thought Elliott's kind of what would stop him from being a championship level centre half was his lack of pace, was his lack of athleticism, which kind of you need as the higher level you go as a centre half. But I certainly think at League One he's one of the best centre backs. You know, you could probably get, especially on the free market for any other League One club.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think to echo what's already been said, he was never the star of the show. He was never like our star centre back. He was really reliable. He was a solid defender. He was a natural leader. I mean, I think he was a captain in the Leicester youth squad, so he's clearly been experienced in that sort of role. Leicester. Sorry. I think it's nice for him to it was nice for him to get like his star moment in that Peterborough playoff semi-final.
Yeah.
So I think he sort of deserved it for all his years of service to the club. I think his attributes definitely didn't help him in the championship in that they stopped him being, again, that star player. But he was always he was solid in defence. He was solid in the air. He was a good leader. I think he was a brilliant addition to the squad. And yeah, I'm quite sad to see him go, to be honest.
Absolutely. Obviously, I think every Oxford United fan, we've said it on social media and all that kind of thing. Thank you so much, Elliott, for all you did for our football club. A true warrior on the pitch and 6 incredible years, and we're sad to see you go, mate. All the very best, and like I say, whoever picks him up will have an absolutely superb centre half on their hands. Any other thoughts? Connor, we'll start with you and tell any other final thoughts on Elliott's Oxford United career.
Yeah, and overall, he had a very, very successful Oxford United career in isolation, and it's also very rare for any player to stick around for 6 years at any club at any level. So it shows how well he was thought of here and from the fan base as well, how well thought of he was. So it surprised me actually already that he hasn't found another club within a week in this short space of time. I know that he has other businesses and investments going on the side, but I know that he'll want to be back on that football pitch as soon as he can.
Will, any final thoughts on Elliott's time?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a brilliant servant to the club. I think, like Connor, I'm surprised he hasn't been picked up by anyone else. I think maybe not a championship move, maybe a League One move would be right for him at this time. Sort of, again, to keep having that game time and keep making a contribution.
Again, thank you so much, Elliott, for everything you did for our club. It's, like I said, it was an absolute honour, and all the best, mate. All the very best. So, gentlemen, just to wrap things up, a very quick preview of our game against Leicester City. Connor, talk us through kind of how Leicester have been so far. Obviously, they had that very late win against Sheffield Wednesday on the first Sunday Championship games of the season. But I think, like many Oxford United fans, my focus is always on our club and don't pay much attention to what's going on around the rest of the Championship. So, how have Leicester done?
To be honest, Sam, they have been not up to the expectations that they set for themselves and that other fans would set. Their first decent performance of the season came just before the international break against Birmingham on Friday night, where they got ahead and then they shut Birmingham down. And being able to shut Birmingham down and make them look pedestrian says something about their defence, which kind of scares me that they've kicked into gear, a game before they're supposed to play us. However, they have been shoddy before that. They did win 1-0 away at Charlton, but that was thanks to a Fatu absolute screamer, and they were poor there. Before that, they lost against Preston North End away, which a lot of fans and a lot of observers expect them to be down at the bottom. However, this is the Castad, the OX4 at half 12s last season. The fans did get riled up and riled up for half kickoffs. We seem to like that. So, although that they're very good defensively when they go ahead and they like to shut up, and they have a couple of young players, as I said, like Fatu and Page, like out on the right hand side and in the centre that are coming well. I don't want to jinx it. I have a sneaking suspicion that something's going to happen. I said before, Sheffield United expect the unexpected, and I think I'm expecting the unexpected again.
And they got the typical Gary Rowett game all over it.
Yeah. Remember that, like the Sheffield United, where we expected them to come in and absolutely turn us over, but we're like, hello, hang on, we can actually do something. And I think because, it's a 3-sided stadium, it will be one where Leicester City, Premier League champions, a Premier League side last year, they'll turn up, just come to tick it off on their stadium map and expect to turn us over. No, I don't think it will be like that whatsoever.
Well, obviously, in the transfer market, they did do an awful lot because restricted due to previous discrepancies in business in the Championship. So their squad is, don't get me wrong, it's still very, very strong, but obviously they lost El Canouse, obviously the main outgoing in the window. Do you think it's, like Connor said, he's got a feeling it's going to be a kind of typical Gary Rowett performance? Are you thinking that, we might be able to get something maybe, using the pace of Krastev and his ability on the ball, obviously Dembele, Lancashire's looking pretty good. Think we might be able to nick something here?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think you already know how stupidly hopeful I am. I mean, I thought we could nick something against Brighton and see how that turned out. But when it comes to this one, I think... Yeah, I'm not confident, but again, I just got that little like Connor. I've got that little feeling we might be able to nick something here. I mean, I was way more scared of Coventry than I am of Leicester, and we managed to get a result against Coventry. And we're going in with a bit of momentum. So we got our first point. We got some injuries, hopefully returning to the squad. We got Krastev sort of being more integrated into it. So yeah, I mean, it'd be probably a typical Gary Rowett game, 1-0, maybe even 2-0, who knows, but. Yeah, I got that feeling that we might be able to nick something from it. Saying that we might lose like 5-0, you never know.
Yeah.
I would like to say, Sam, if there's anything I want to see from that starting lineup, is that up front, I want to see Krastev on the left,
Yeah.
Lancashire up top, and I want to see Stan Mills on the right.
Yeah.
It absolutely has to be that. If it's anything else, then what's the point?
Yeah, we have to go for it from the staff.
Obviously, Ben Davies would like to get a start. Obviously, he looks like he's up to fitness. Like you mentioned, Connor, former Premier League champions, coming up on a decade ago this season. 5 years ago, they won the FA Cup. Obviously, a lot of history, an incredible pair of games against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League in 16-17. There's, a side with a lot of quality, but like you mentioned, it seems to be the way with the newly relegated sides. They're off to a bit of a faltering start. Put that down to what you want. Maybe it's the Premier League hangover. Maybe it's the sides that stayed in the Championship, other than Sheffield United, obviously, strengthening and wanted to really give it a go. You know, these sides they'll be looking to make up the ground they've lost to the sides that started well, like Middlesbrough, obviously, leading the way. We don't do score predictions on here, boys, but is this? I know we've kind of said that we might be able to sneak a result. I'm going into this, and I think I'm going to go into most of the games over the September period going, if we can get a draw, it'll be a positive. Is that being too negative? I know, obviously, Will, you're the endless optimist.
Yeah.
But what do we reckon? Do we reckon, looking into the rest of September, that a point a game will be positive? Or, you know, I know we obviously really need to start picking up 3 points at some point.
No, because that would mean that we would be winless going into October. And then I think there would be a lot of panic. I think that it will look a lot better, and there will be a lot better feel. Say if we lost these next two and then picked up a win against what it would be Sheffield United. So it always looks better when you have a win on the board rather than you're going in and you've gone 7 league games in without a win.
Yeah,
I'm thinking from a mentality point of view.
Well, what do you reckon?
Yeah, no, I echo everything that he said. I think it helps to have a win on the board. I think at least 1 win, 2 wins in September. I mean, you know me, I think we could win every game possibly. I've always got that hope with me, but I don't know. So logic tells me that's not going to happen. But yeah, a win, 2 wins do masses for our squad, because it'll be like Connor said, it was suck going into October knowing we haven't won a single game yet.
This is the Oxford United month. This is the Oxford United month. Games that we should win, we don't win. Oh, sorry. Games we should pick up something on, we don't pick anything up. Games we shouldn't pick anything from, we will go in and do a job. It's just Oxford United.
Yeah. Gents, thanks so much for joining us for this special international break episode of Walking the London Road. Of course, listeners, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can listen to us on YouTube and Spotify. Both help massively. We've had incredible support on the channel recently, and you know, we're just getting started. We're hoping to continue building the new revamped way we've got the show going. So we're hoping you are enjoying it, and we'll see you this time next week for a review of that Leicester game, where hopefully we'll have picked up at least a point against Fox at the Castad. See you later. Brilliant. Thank you very much, both.
Cool.
Okay.
I look forward to speaking to you after we win 4-0 next week.
God, I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Superb. Thank you. I'll let you know when it's. I mean, you'll probably see my tweet when I've already let Mark know that we're doing this, so he knows ready to take a 5 minutes away from his Sunday night to quickly put this together.
Oh, cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers. See you in a bit.